Hello book lovers, and welcome back or welcome to Nakat's Bookish Cafe. Today I just wanted to sit down and chat a little bit about my plan moving forward when it comes to ebooks, and this is obviously in response to Amazon making it so that we can no longer really own the books that we are purchasing. Alright guys, so this is a super casual video. This is not really the place to see the information. I have on my community tab already kind of posted a video that Willow did, so you can definitely check that out. And obviously a ton of other people have been doing videos here on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all over. So this video is kind of more me kind of talking through about some changes that I want to make in response to this, as well as just in response to me and the feelings that I have been having recently. So I do own a Kindle. Here she is. I do use her not super frequently. I don't have a lot of books on my Kindle, and I don't read them very often. In fact, if you are familiar with my channel, you might be familiar with the fact that I set a goal this year and last year to read at least 10 of the books that I have on my Kindle. Last year I failed that. This year, hopefully not. But essentially, I do occasionally get Kindle Unlimited. And I also occasionally buy Kindle books, very infrequently. More likely, I will pick up a few books during those Stuff Your Kindle days. But Amazon is making a change, which initially I didn't think it would really impact me, because this wasn't even something that I knew you could do, because if I read an ebook, read it on my Kindle. But essentially at this time you can upload the books to your computer, and then you can transfer them to another device or read them on your computer, all that jazz. And starting on February 26th, you will no longer be able to do that. I will say that I have transferred all my books to my computer. I'm not planning on getting another device at this time, but the issue is that you don't really own the ebooks. So essentially you could purchase this book, but if Amazon decides to make changes to the book, or if they decide to just like cut the book completely, you lose that book even though you spent money on it. Now, a lot of us have always kind of known that we have bought the right to access this book, more so than like owning it in the sense that we own these physical books. But this is still very concerning to a lot of people because of the book bans that are going on, and Amazon isn't exactly the greatest company. So a lot of book readers, including myself, don't trust them to not start cutting books that they don't like, whether that's your classic Handmaid's Tale, George Orwell's stories, just stories by POC authors, queer stories. For them, I wouldn't put it past them that they start erasing those, and a lot of those are on my Kindle, and I would like to keep them. Whether or not I got them for free or if I paid for them, because it's very concerning when a organization starts to control what literature you have access to. And you know, I don't want to doomsday or anything, but you know, things have definitely escalated a lot over the last few years, especially when it comes to book banning. So I would like to say better safe than sorry. So if you do have a lot of books on your Kindle, now would definitely be the time to move those over to a safe space, just in case. That's kind of what I did. But the question now is, what do we do? Us Kindle users, like I said, I don't use it a lot. So it probably doesn't impact me as much as some other people who may use Kindle products a lot, whether because it's just a preference for them, because ebooks are often cheaper than physical books. Maybe it has to do with any sort of disability where reading it in this format is easier. So I'm very lucky where I don't think it's going to impact me too much, but it still had the little wheels in my head turning a little bit. Like, what do we do? Especially because I have been wanting to move away from Amazon. I had a Amazon Premium account, which I am canceling as of this month. I kind of talked to my family about it because this was like the one account that I purchased. Like, they paid for like Netflix and Hulu and all that jazz, and I did the Amazon Prime, I guess. I think I said premium. I think it's Amazon Prime, so that we could get the free shipping and also have access to their TV shows. And I kind of sat down and I was like, hey, you know, I really want to support Amazon as little as possible. Is it okay if I cancel this? They're like, yeah, we're not watching any shows there right now. And then Amazon, I mean, if you have to buy from them, I think their free shipping standard is like what, like $35. So maybe instead of buying like one book at a time, just wait until you have like 2-3 books, because books are expensive, so it doesn't take that much to get to $35, and then purchase them that way. So that is one step that I'm taking. On the other hand, when it comes to ebooks, I feel like I'm kind of in a tough spot because I don't want to get rid of KU. So I don't think I'm going to like get rid of my Kindle or anything. I'm already someone who doesn't get KU every month. If you're a part of my channel, you know that. I have it this month, but usually I get it for 1 month. Make sure that I read 3 to 4 books to really make it worth that $11.99 or $12.99, whatever it is. And then I don't get it for a few months. And that has worked really well for me. I think that's what I'm going to continue to do, because there are authors that make a living off of KU. And that's where the struggle comes in of balancing protecting small self-published authors who are using Amazon as their primary platform to sell their books, while simultaneously not supporting Amazon as much as possible. So you have to kind of try and balance it. The hope is always that some other better platform comes along that these authors can use. But for now, Amazon really kind of holds a pretty big chunk of self-published books in the palm of their hand. And obviously, the last thing we want to do is take away support from these small authors. So I was kind of keeping that in mind. There was also kind of the argument where people are like, hey, maybe instead of purchasing the ebook, you need to buy the physical book, which isn't possible for everyone because one, they are more expensive. Two, there may be certain books that you're comfortable reading on your Kindle where your family can't see them. And if you buy them physically, it may show that you're reading about topics that they might not want you to be reading about. I'm specifically talking about books that have obviously queer covers. So there are some issues with that. The other issue with me with people saying that is that I was really trying to move, and I feel like the book community in general has been kind of trying to move away from this idea of over consuming, because as book talk exploded, and even I myself, as someone who has been on BookTube for a while, we buy a lot of books, and sometimes it may seem like too much. And I think the fact that there are so many people right now who are doing like those read or unhaul or making my way through my backlog list videos kind of shows that the community as a whole has realized like, okay, we went a little too cuckoo crazy with the book buying, so maybe we need to slow it down a little bit. And I definitely have been wanting to slow down my reading. I know I have a book haul that I need to film that is gonna have like over 50 books in it, and when I was looking at that, I was like, Okay. I think we have too many books that are coming in, and I do love having a lot of unread books on my shelf. It's great to be able to use my shelves as a library, but at the same time, it does get a little bit overwhelming, especially as some of those books start to become 2, 3, 4 years old and you're just not getting to them because you're getting those newer books. So I was like, okay, yes, buying the physical copy instead of the Kindle is an option, but do I need more physical books on my shelf? No. So I was kind of moving all of this through my head, and I was like, okay, there's something that I have really been wanting to do more of, and that is use my library. I've always been a library girl. You know, I do continue to use my library both in the form of picking up physical books as well as the Libby app. So what I was kind of thinking is, obviously my library is limited in what it has, especially when it comes to the more indie self-published books. They're not very often there, at least at my library. Different libraries obviously have different books, and you can always request them, but I have personally never requested a book, so I have no idea what the success rate for that is or the timeline for any of that. So I didn't really want to depend on that, and I also didn't want to suddenly burden my library with having to purchase the books that I want to read, especially if they're like, you know, some of those really small books that not a lot of people are picking up. So what I decided would kind of get all of my goals together of not relying on Amazon for books, for Kindle books, while also simultaneously still supporting small authors, and using my library more and purchasing books a little bit less. I just want to be more conscientious. I want to be a little bit more diligent in my purchasing. Will I every once in a while just go to Half Price Books and buy a bunch of books or Powell's books? Yes, but each of those things are probably once a year occurrences because one of them is 2 hours away and the other one is like 45 minutes away. So those are places that I don't go very often, and it's kind of a treat for me. So I will definitely still be buying books. But I figured what I could really do is that when it comes to the books I want to read, if they are available at the library in the format that I want to read them, because sometimes there are books that I only want to read physically, and sometimes there are books that I only want to read as an audiobook, I will get them from the library. And if I love the book and I decide that I want it on my shelf, I will go to Pango, Barnes & Noble, Half Price Books, Thrift Books, wherever, and purchase the book and add it to my library. On the other hand, if I want to read a book that my library does not have, because I am now utilizing my library so much and saving that money, I could use it to purchase those indie and self-published books physically instead of as a Kindle version. I would obviously try to see if like Pango Books or something happens to have them, because I'm sure I'm not the only person in the world reading this book. I would also probably check the author's website to see if I could buy it directly from them. I might even be able to buy a Kindle version from them to read. I've done that before with Only James. And as a last resort, if the only place I can buy it is from Amazon, then I would go ahead and do that. But I really kind of want to make Amazon my last resort, while simultaneously making sure that I am putting my money towards those smaller authors and still getting to read all the books I want, supporting my library, and buying the books that I know that I love and want to keep on my shelf. Will that mean that my physical TBR will shrink? Hopefully. Will that also mean that when I do my monthly TBRs, I will be less likely to hold up a book and instead have like a little picture because I gotta go and get it from the library first? Yes, but I think that will be totally fine. I mean, I have probably, I haven't counted how many books I have. I have 4 shelves of unread books, definitely a little over 100 books. So I don't think that I'm going to be running low on books anytime soon, but this has really kind of gotten me thinking about being more conscious about what books I'm buying and when I'm buying them, because sometimes I buy a book and I don't read it for a few years. Another exception I forgot to mention is continuations of series. I have always kind of bought the next book in the series, read it, then bought the next book in the series, and that's kind of what I would continue to do since I know I'm gonna read it. So if I start a new series, I would get the first one from the library. If I'm like, yeah, I love this is going to be great, I will buy the first book and the second book and then continue with the series. If I feel like it's going to be like a decent series, then I would probably just continue to read it through the library. It really just depends on what mood I'm in. So yes, that is kind of my plan right now. I think that it will really help me because I will put a lot more thought into the books that I'm purchasing and where I'm purchasing them and how much money I'm spending. So hopefully this will help take some support away from Amazon, because I really would only buy books from them like if there's nowhere else to get them, because I totally understand that there are probably a lot of self-published authors where that's the only place that maybe they can afford to put it, and I obviously don't want to punish them for that. So I'm hoping that this is kind of a good idea. It has been something that I've been thinking about for a while, and I think that this whole Kindle change is kind of bringing me to the point where I'm like, yeah, we need to stop thinking about it and start actually taking some action on that. So I think start moving forward, I'm gonna go ahead and start doing that. You'll see a large haul from me probably sometime in March, but after that, hopefully the hauls will be a little bit smaller. And I would like to know kind of what your thoughts on all of this are. If you are planning on changing anything about the way that you consume books, the way you get books, if you're planning on changing to another e-reader or anything along those lines. I don't want to like doomsday all of this, but I also kind of feel like the dinosaurs when they're like, that star is getting really big. So it's just a little concerning with all the book banning going on, and then suddenly Amazon putting these restrictions in place definitely just had me kind of going like in defense mode, I guess, almost, where I feel like I'm struggling with this idea of like not buying too many books because I don't want to fall into like the over consumerism thing, but at the same time feeling like I need to buy and hoard books because they might disappear and may no longer be available to me, especially books with like any sort of diversity within them. But I think we just need to take a deep breath and just, you know, keep reading diversely, supporting our libraries, supporting our small authors, supporting our queer and POC authors, all of that jazz we're gonna keep doing. Obviously, whenever we do any sort of boycotting, or if we ever plan on, you know, using our financial power to make change within our capitalist society, we also want to just make sure that we are not hurting the little man in the process. So I think that is my plan. I know this video is kind of random. I mean, I'm sitting here, no makeup, on my lunch break. Just because I had to like get this all off of my chest. So just to summarize, essentially what I am planning on doing is only using my Kindle for KU, getting that every few months to continue to support those authors who are getting money through the KU subscription, because essentially if you pay for KU, it goes into like a pool, and then depending on how many pages are read of your book, you get a certain amount of money. I'm planning on using my library more, specifically probably more for like traditionally published books that you can easily get at any bookstore and that most libraries have available to them because they're so common. And then going ahead and using that money that I'm saving from using the library instead of buying the books to support those small authors and purchasing them either used or directly from the author, and as a last resort purchasing it via Amazon. So that is where I stand. Let me know where you stand. I'd love to have a discussion about it in the comments below. As always, guys, thank you so much for supporting my channel by watching my videos, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.